Your daily coffee ritual could be a double-edged sword.
I don't want to do this video. I love my coffee.
You do?
It's a global morning ritual, no matter where you go. But it's also steeped in controversy right now. And it straddles a line between a health benefit and a hidden health hazard. So while it kickstarts your day, we want to tell you today what else it's doing to your body.
Well, I think it's important just understanding the full impact of coffee. I think that's critical. And your health could really depend on it. So that's really our mission today. We're not going to cut you off of coffee.
No, and it's not a huge ask we have for you. It's just really more information to give you both sides of coffee consumption so that you and us can make informed choices about our health. That's what it's really about today.
So this video is really for you, whether you're savoring your morning cup or considering to cut back. It's just all about balance and awareness.
And we hear all the time, including me, I love my morning cup of joe. And I do.
You do.
I get up at 4 a.m., I put the pot on, and I have my 30-minute cup of coffee before I go to the gym. And, you know, it's my favorite laxative. It helps me go to the bathroom.
Oh, my.
And we hear that. Well, it does.
Yeah.
I think it does. I don't know. Something does that.
Yeah.
Are we going to get down this road?
I don't think so.
We're not talking about bowel movements
No.
again. We did that in the last video. But we also hear that, you know, giving it up is hard.
Yeah.
And I'll never give it up. So, again, like Jody said, we're not suggesting you do that, but we
Right.
just want you to have a little bit of an open mind and think about it. So some people have switched over to tea completely because of it, right?
Yeah, we tried that.
We tried quitting
Yeah.
a
And then
couple
we went
times.
back.
We're going to talk
But-
about that later in the video. I've quit coffee twice, and I'll tell you right now up front, it's the best I've ever felt. So I don't know.
Well,
Maybe this will inspire me to try it again.
Yeah, well, I think it's important just to figure out how much you actually drink a day.
Well,
I'm looking at you.
Why are you looking at me? Listen, I used to drink when I was working in my career 8 cups a day. I'd have 3 in the morning, I'd have 2 mid-morning, I'd have 1 after lunch and 1 at 3 o'clock. Is that 8 or is that 10?
That's a lot.
I used to drink a lot. And I know that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
I mean, too much of anything is no
Right,
good.
right, exactly. It's just important to know the benefits and the risks of drinking that morning cup of joe and assessing how much you're really having in a day.
I agree. Now, if you're new here, I'm Mark, and this is my wife, Jody.
And we don't focus on the financial aspects of retirement, but rather lifestyle, health, relationships, and more.
So please hit the subscribe button and the notification button. That way you know when our videos come out. But more importantly, share it with someone you care about who's on their retirement journey, and leave a comment below. We want to engage with you. Tell us what you think about your coffee journey.
And it's funny, you know, I was picking on you a little earlier when we opened the video, but my journey with coffee has definitely changed as I've aged. You know, when I was working, I would sip on, because I love hot coffee. I don't mind lukewarm coffee. I actually like iced coffee. So I could sip on coffee kind of all day long. Now I have my 1 cup in the morning, but after that, the acid really starts to affect my stomach. And I can tell you probably every day, Mark will say to me, hey, do you want a cup of coffee? And it'll be 11 or 2 in the afternoon. And my inclination is to say yes, because it's like, let's sit down and have a cup of coffee. I mean, it sounds warm and cozy and, you know, relational and all those things. But it is so hard on my stomach that I end up saying, no, but I'll grab a water and sit with you, or no, I'll make a cup of tea and sit with you. You know, I just can't stomach it as much anymore. And I love it. I love the smell, the taste, the process, the holding the warm cup. It's like a whole experience.
Well, that's true. And I have changed my habits as well. Don't know if you've noticed, but I have the one at 4 o'clock when I get up. I come back and I have a half a cup with you in between me coming back from the gym and you heading to the gym. And that's it. I now have tea in the afternoon. You've noticed that, right?
I have.
It's been a week, so it's new. But
Right.
I don't have coffee in the afternoon anymore. And, you know, I grew up drinking black coffee with my dad. You know, that was our thing to do early in the morning, just to have coffee and chat. And I think a lot of you guys probably are in the same boat. It's the thing that you're so used to doing it. And we don't talk about this too much in the video, but I just thought about it. If you're adding in sugar and milk or heavy cream.
Right.
We're not even addressing that today. We've
Right.
done videos on sugar and all that. We're addressing just coffee.
Right.
Now, when you put milk and sugar and all that, and we have friends that do 4 scoops of sugar.
Right.
That's not coffee. That's a milkshake.
Well, it's coffee ice cream,
It's coffee ice cream. So,
which I love.
well, so that's our journey on coffee, and honestly, I'm tempted to try to quitting again.
Wait a second. You just bought a big fancy coffee machine.
So I'm tempted to try, but
I'm tempted to ship the coffee machine back.
So here's what I'm ignoring you. Here's what I remember the 2 times that I quit. Withdrawals, major withdrawals.
Headaches.
And it reminds me that if I'm addicted to coffee, and when I try to quit, it gives me a headache for a week, it makes me think maybe I shouldn't be drinking coffee.
That's
I don't
true.
know.
That's true.
There's a download below, a health and wellness checklist that goes a lot further beyond coffee to see how your health is. So download that and take a look. Now, let's talk about the benefits of coffee first, right? We want to make you feel good about maybe this is enough for me not to want to quit when we go through this. But we'll do the benefits of coffee first, and then we'll do the risks second. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay.
And please stay till the end where we can share our 5 steps to see if you should drink coffee or not.
Or how much you should drink. Now, the first thing that coffee does for you, it boosts your energy and your alertness. And we all know that because that's why we take it in the morning, right? I mean, for me, when I had a heavy night drinking, that was big. I had to have 3 cups of black coffee before I could even speak. It has caffeine in it. It reduces tiredness. It makes you more alert. It always helped me with my concentration. Did it with you?
I don't remember feeling that, but I know that is one of the benefits that's listed with coffee and the caffeine that comes along with it. I mean, it definitely increases your energy levels and can even elevate your mood, because, I have this cup of coffee. It's almost like a relief to hold it in your hands, especially if you have a big warm mug.
Well, listen,
so it's definitely an energy booster.
That's why I had my 2 o'clock in the afternoon coffee, or 3 o'clock, was to get me through the rest of the day during my career. Now, at this point in life, if I'm tired at 3 o'clock, I'll take a nap. Right?
And you do.
Not every day, but I do.
The second benefit of coffee is that it's rich in antioxidants, right? Coffee is loaded with antioxidants, offering various health benefits, fighting free radicals in your body, reducing some oxidative stress. It sometimes can help prevent inflammation, which is always good. And it's, kind of supports in that antioxidant bucket, your overall health.
I don't know if we talk about mental health in a minute, but I know that, like you said, that morning coffee just sets me up mentally for the day. So maybe that's not really a benefit, but it's a mood swing, I think, right?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, the other benefit of having coffee is that there's studies that say it actually may lower risk of type 2 diabetes. That's really important to know.
Probably not if you're adding the 4 or 5 scoops of sugar.
Not if you're adding the sugar, no. But regular coffee consumption has been linked to a reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. It influences your glucose metabolism, which is really important, and it improves your insulin sensitivity, right?
Right. It may be due to that antioxidant and anti-inflammatory side effects, but it's really good for regulating your diabetes. A lot, people will say, and research will say, you get up in the morning, have a black cup of coffee, and it sets your insulin production for the day. Okay, the fourth thing, coffee could protect against neurological diseases. Coffee consumption is associated with a lower risk of both Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, which we both have in our family. Your mom with Alzheimer's and my father with Parkinson's. It contains neuroprotective properties, and it may actually reduce the risk of dementia. There's big studies going on with that right now.
My mom had dementia, and she drank probably 4 cups of coffee a day, but then 4 cups times 2, that's 8 spoons of sugar, and
cream.
Probably a quart of cream.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that had anything to do with it, but again, she didn't drink it black, and I think really what we're talking about here, the research we did is on black coffee.
It's really the coffee beans, right? It's
Yeah.
not really all the additive vanilla syrup.
No, but it
all the things
says
like
that
in
it might enhance brain health and encourage cognitive function.
Yeah.
So that's a plus for drinking coffee. The studies have also said that it supports liver health. So coffee drinkers have been known to have a lower risk of liver diseases. So that's important to note. Apparently, allegedly with these studies, protects against liver cirrhosis of the liver. I don't know the right way to say that. And it also may lower the risk of liver cancer.
I didn't realize it had all of those, but it does support overall liver function, I guess, within the properties of the black. Again, we're talking about black coffee.
Right.
Right? So it's associated just with healthier liver tissue in general. So listen, please don't forget to stay to the end so that we can share our 5 steps to see if you should be drinking coffee or not.
So what else is coffee good for? Because I'm on this roll now. I'm thinking I don't need to quit coffee.
That's right.
Look at all this good stuff it does for me.
The 6th benefit is it could enhance physical performance. It stimulates the release of adrenaline, boosting your physical performance. And it's interesting because you have a cup before you go to the gym.
I really feel as if I can't get moving without that cup of coffee. It could be a lot of BS. I don't know, but mentally, I think I need that to do well at the gym.
And I can only have a couple of sips of my coffee before I go to the gym. Otherwise, I just get that acid producing, but...
Well, I feel like it. I feel like it gives me physical endurance. I feel like it reduces my fatigue. And the research showed that it accelerates fat burning.
Yeah. So this whole idea of enhancing physical performance is a big bucket for many people.
A big one here is that coffee, regular drinking of coffee, not too much, not too little, has been linked to lower risk of certain cancers. So, we're all about health, wellness. We did a video earlier today on colon cancer that our son has. So, if it actually helps reduce cancer, I want to keep taking it.
Right.
I mean, it specifically... Studies have shown that it protects against liver and colorectal cancer, which is what Markham has.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it has properties that encourage cell health, right? And anytime you're encouraging the cells in your body to, expand and develop in healthy ways is better. Here's the one you alluded to. Coffee may improve your mental health. Coffee consumption has been linked to lower risk of depression and lower suicide rates. And that's an interesting correlation. It's associated with, reduced depression. It influences your mood regulation and encourages your neurotransmitters to balance out throughout the day. So, for those that struggle with that, that's an interesting, black cup of coffee. See if that changes anything.
Well, it's funny when I think about mental health. For me, I said earlier that coffee just puts me in a place when you get very specific like this, where it reduces depression risk, might lower suicide, influences your mood regulation, encourages neurotransmitter balance. That to me that's what goes on when I have that first sip. I didn't know it was very specific like that, but...
you can actually feel that with the first sip.
I can feel it right now thinking about it tomorrow morning.
Really?
How about that?
Interesting.
With my new fancy coffee machine.
You have a fancy
that we're not going to talk about anymore. Another thing that coffee does for you... As a benefit, is that studies have shown that it supports heart health. Now, I've got high blood pressure. I have a buildup of plaque on some of my arteries. So I'm thinking I got to keep having coffee because it's beneficial for heart health. It's linked to reduced heart disease. The studies have shown that it might improve vascular function, which is important to me. So, blood pressure regulation, what are you thinking?
I don't know. So this one's kind of interesting to me because, the research showed that it does influence your blood pressure regulation. And I think we have to always put then in moderation, right? Because, I've had days where I've had too much coffee and I feel like my heart's pumping fat, like my blood pressure has to be higher.
Well, when we get into the disadvantages of the risks of having coffee,
right?
I'm pretty confident when we did that study that there is definitely an issue of accelerated heart rate. So,
Yeah.
we're giving both sides of this. Clearly, you should check with your doctor, and I should check with my
Cardiologist.
I was trying to think neurologist, cardiologist, to see what they think and do more research on it. But
there is a study that says coffee may extend your lifespan.
That's it. I'm in.
Yeah.
If I can live longer by drinking coffee, I'm in.
You have to hear the other side of the story.
Oh, okay.
Research suggests coffee drinkers may have a lower risk of death associated coffee directly with increased longevity. And again, I would have to say that's got to be in moderation, right?
I also think it's probably the first 9 we talked about added up together. That's if those are true advantages, that's going to extend your lifespan, right?
I would think so.
we're going to talk in a minute about how it shortens your lifespan, but I also think it's very individual. Whether it's alcohol or coffee or sugar or wine, whatever, it is individually too, right?
Yeah, that's
based upon your history and your medical condition, the drugs you're taking.
Right. I think that's a really good point. One of the things to take out of this is listen to your body. We're all at that stage of life where, we need to listen to our body and advocate, choices that work best for us and advocate to our healthcare providers what we think we need, for sure.
So there were 10 benefits of drinking coffee. Again, we took out milk and cream and sugar, but just coffee itself, there are 10 benefits to drinking coffee. Now let's talk about the risks.
Okay.
Or should we just skip this and leave the video at the benefits of drinking coffee?
Let's do both sides.
Okay, so let's explore the risk. And again, we want you to stay to the end because we're going to share with you the 5 steps that we use on a regular basis to see if we should drink coffee or not. And when we get to the end, maybe we should make a challenge to each other or a commitment on whether we're going to keep drinking or not. No, we'll just do the video. All right, so the first risk of drinking coffee is it can cause anxiety and insomnia. Now, I think it does both for me. When I was drinking a lot of coffee during my career, and I'm talking about 3 before I got to the office, 2 at my desk, 1 mid-morning, 1 after lunch, and 2 in the afternoon, it made me anxious, and I didn't sleep well. I used to drink coffee after dinner, regular coffee. You can, I can't.
Yeah,
I think coffee definitely causes, for me, anxiety and insomnia.
So I think the insomnia part is very specific to your personal body chemistry. I can have, an espresso after a nice dinner at 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night and still go to bed, when we get home. And I know people that can't touch coffee after 12 noon. So I do think that's something you have to really look at individually.
Yeah, I agree. But I also think that besides anxiety, insomnia, I think there's some dependence on coffee. I think we covered that specifically, but it just reminded me that you can become dependent on it. I was.
Yeah.
I was addicted to it, I would say.
Absolutely.
It was an unhealthy addiction.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, so the second risk is it just, like I said earlier, it may increase your blood pressure. Coffee can cause short-term spikes in blood pressure. Temporary increases in blood pressure. It's concerning for those that have hypertension or a blockage or arrhythmia or anything around the heart. So again, moderation for those individuals, and check with your healthcare provider.
So it's interesting that one of the benefits is that it may be heart healthy, yet at the same time it increases blood pressure. Now, if you don't have a blood pressure problem, maybe that's not an issue for you, but I do.
Right.
So taking it, I don't check my blood pressure that often, and maybe I should with or without coffee, but it's really important to monitor your blood pressure. And I would say, especially as you get older.
Right.
If you're a 35-year-old person and you're just running hard and working out and all that, short term might not be a big deal, but long term it is. So, the other risk of too much coffee, I would say, not just coffee in general, because I think 1 cup maybe is okay. I'm not sure.
Here we go. We're justifying.
But it, with certain individuals, there is a risk of heart complications. So like you said, that it really depends upon your own individual. But some cases, excessive coffee consumption is linked to heart issues. It may exacerbate pre-existing heart conditions.
Right.
It's linked to palpitations and arrhythmias.
Right.
And I think that the studies that we said too much coffee is probably no good, and that's where you run into problems with your heart.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I would definitely agree. I know my mom had some arrhythmia issues, and the more coffee she drank during the day, the more issues she had. So she savored her, one little cup in the morning in a china tea glass with a little bit of cream and Truvia. But I know she cut back once she had some heart things. So the fourth risk, and this is really big, specifically for women, coffee and excessive amounts of coffee, high coffee intake may contribute to osteoporosis. And that's because it can interfere with your calcium absorption and your bone density. Bone density screenings are critical as you age. So I'll put that as a side note. But high caffeine can lead to your decreased calcium absorption, and we all need calcium and strong bones as we age.
So as we age, our bones become more brittle anyway, right? Mm-hmm. On their own, and our muscle mass starts decreasing at the age of 30. So if that's going on by itself, throwing coffee on top of that would speed that up really doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't,
right?
No.
I mean, Here's one where I could say, this is really important, and you should talk to your doctor about it. Specifically, ask your doctor about osteoporosis. Mm-hmm. Am I at risk? And what do you think coffee is doing for me?
Right.
Because I think we have to get away from the whole idea that because we've been drinking coffee our whole life, or since we were, I don't know, for me it was 14.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in the Boy Scouts camping.
You had coffee at Boy Scout camp?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because the senior, the dads there, and they needed their coffee in the morning, so they let us drink it. But we never had milk and sugar, so we drank it black.
Oh.
But I've been drinking it a long time.
That is a long time.
Well, 14, so 67.
43 years.
43 years of coffee in this man.
53 years.
I quit for a year once, which, I don't know, maybe I should think about it.
You should.
Well, here's one that doesn't really affect me, but having coffee during a pregnancy is something you really want to think about, because I think all of these risks when you're pregnant increase a little bit when you're carrying another human inside of you. And studies have shown that coffee during pregnancy actually might increase the risk of miscarriage.
Yeah, and it can affect the fetal growth. So, again, talking to your OBGYN is really important. And there are suggested guidelines out there that limit the amount of caffeine in general, so coffee in that big caffeine pot, during pregnancy. But it is super important to check with your healthcare provider on this one for sure.
So it's been 25 years or 26 years since you were pregnant. Mm-hmm. Did you quit coffee when you were pregnant? Do you remember?
No, I didn't. I had a cup in the morning when I was pregnant with Evan. When I was pregnant with the twins, because they were high risk to begin with, I cut out anything and everything that the doctor said would contribute to the risk factor.
Really? So you didn't have coffee?
I didn't with the twins.
What was it like?
Do
you remember?
I remember that it's hard. Well, so I had a 20-month-old. So if you're the parent of a 20-month-old, you're drinking a lot of coffee because it's like constant.
Because of the benefits, energy.
Yeah, all those benefits we talked about. But when I when I found out I was pregnant with the twins, I remember almost 2 full weeks of a headache.
Yeah, I remember.
And I had to constantly hydrate. So I increased my water intake to hydrate to try to get through the headaches, because I also couldn't risk a lot of headache medicine at the time. They weren't sure if it crossed into the placenta, and I was trying to do everything I could to mitigate the risk. But I do remember the headaches being, almost kind of like crazy in the morning.
It's one thing to do research for these videos and make some notes and remember some things, but as we're doing it and talking about it, I'm thinking of my life and longevity and anxiety, and I think we need to do research on tea versus coffee. We should do a video on that, because I don't know if there's bad things with tea, but there's a lot of benefit to tea, right?
Well, and then in the coffee space, there's also the mushroom coffee, which is new. That's newer. I'm sure it's not new, but it's newer to kind of the marketing phase of coffee. Huh. And there are some real benefits to the mushroom coffee. So this that we're talking about today is straight coffee.
And we drink dark coffee, so
Yeah.
maybe we should look at medium roast or light roast as well. But the other thing about coffee is, we've talked before about cooking foods at high temperature. I mean, coffee beans are roasted at a very high temperature,
Right.
so that's probably not good for you. But we're going to do other videos on mushroom coffee, mushrooms by themselves, tripping. That's a big thing. What's it called?
I don't know.
No, I don't know what it's called, but that's a thing that people do now. Or tea.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so
What else is
another risk factor
Okay.
is gastrointestinal issues. Okay, this definitely affects me
Yeah,
now.
you're feeling it now, right?
I never had any gastrointestinal issues, up through my 20s, 30s, 40s, even early 50s. But something changed, and coffee seems to really irritate my digestive system. And through research, we found that I'm not alone in this, right? It can cause or exacerbate gastrointestinal reflux, which leads to, discomfort and stomach discomfort. And I've really cautioned myself and moved my needle back on coffee because of that. I mean, I could actually feel my stomach hurt, and so that's why sometimes late in the day when Mark will say, like, oh, let's grab a cup of coffee. It sounds so good to
Yeah.
me, but I just know I can't do it.
I've weaned myself off of that, and again, it's been a week, maybe 2 weeks. That I would say that in the last 6 months, I've had an afternoon coffee. I don't know, once a week. Now I don't at all, and now I've replaced it with tea. So 3 days a week I'll have tea. I do like that afternoon warm drink as I'm wrapping up the day or working on something. But yeah, again, like we've said on so many other topics, you've got to be aware of your body. When you take that first sip of coffee and you feel a little something, your body's telling you something.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right. So the other thing, a risk of drinking coffee or too much coffee, is it can lead to increased cholesterol. Now, I have higher cholesterol, but I brought it down. I've gotten off the cholesterol drugs because of diet and exercise. But gosh, now I'm thinking, if coffee's increasing that, then, I really have to think more about that, because there's certain compounds in unfiltered coffee that actually have been proven to increase or elevate your cholesterol levels, and it's linked to higher LDL cholesterol, which I think is the bad kind, isn't it?
I think
So, I think that there's talk about how you prepare your coffee, and I think we need to look more. For me, I need to look more into this.
Well, we do,
as I'm talking about
we
it.
don't drink many unfiltered coffees, right? Our coffee's mostly always filtered.
So what's unfiltered then? Just like a percolator where there's no paper filter.
Right.
Okay, it's just the grounds with water on it.
I think maybe like a French press might be unfiltered.
Okay.
So, which I love.
Yeah.
One of my favorite types of coffee.
Well, me too. But I think we should look into that more.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be in the preparation of the actual grounds, whether that's filtered or not.
Okay.
So, the eighth risk that we wanted to talk about, and we touched on it earlier, is just dependency. Regular caffeine consumption can lead to dependency, and as we spoke about, withdrawal symptoms. Symptoms can be the headache that I talked about earlier, irritability, or
wait a second.
fatigue.
Coffee does not make me irritable.
No, but if you try to stop coffee,
Oh, I'll be a mess
irritable, tired.
because I'm dependent on it.
Because I think you are.
I am.
Okay.
I'm a coffee addict.
We need to go to Coffee Anonymous.
Something.
Yeah. Anyway,
This video is
important.
screwing me up with coffee. I'm telling you.
It's important just to be aware of your caffeine intake, right? Consider maybe a gradual reduction if you feel that you're drinking way too much coffee in a 24-hour period. You don't want to get you don't want to find yourself in that addictive place where trying to get out of it gives you these withdrawal symptoms.
How about if we do coffee just on weekends?
It's an idea.
We're making a commitment at the end of this
So
video.
I don't really have a problem with coffee, so I'm not sure if
Says
I need
who?
to change anything.
Every time you sip it, your stomach hurts.
No, but I have my one cup. You're being generous with yourself just saying you have one or two. I mean, when
two.
we were at the Cologuard Classic last week, you had a lot of coffee
3.
each day.
That's because I had coffee in the morning when I get up at 4, and then we went out to breakfast. So then those days I have more. I'm a coffee addict. Okay. All right. Here's another risk of drinking coffee or too much coffee, particularly for people who are already anxious.
Right.
Coffee can or will increase your anxiety and bring on some mental health issues that, feeling of anxiety or panic. So you really have to moderate the intake for your overall mental health. At the same time, like I said, for me, I think that first sip of coffee improves my mental health. You should have one sip, and then that's good. But too much coffee is definitely going to make you anxious, stressed out, get your heart racing. So again, this is very personal.
Right.
But if you've got some built-in anxiety, you need to talk to your doctor and think about whether or not coffee is good or bad for you.
And I think this last risk, we all can we probably should have put this at the top. For our age group, coffee can interfere with medication, nutrient absorption in your everyday routine. Certain medications don't pair well with coffee.
Is it the caffeine or just coffee in general?
Well, I think it stops you from, absorbing the nutrients like iron, for example. And then if you take your daily medications with coffee, some of your medications are going to increase your heart rate to begin with just because of the nature of the medication. And now you're drinking caffeine on top of that. So just being aware of your dietary considerations, your medical considerations, and your nutrient intake, I think kind of completes the picture.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. So we gave you 10 reasons that coffee is good for you. Benefits, and 10 risks. Now it's kind of up to you to figure out where do you fit. And should you quit? Should you cut down? Should you start drinking coffee? I mean, if you're a tea drinker, I don't know a lot of tea drinkers who switch over to coffee. It's really mostly the other way. But as promised, here are the 5 steps to see if you should drink coffee or not, or the amount of coffee. And the first one is...
listen to your body. Yeah. I mean, I can't say that enough. Notice any signs of anxiety or jitterness, post your cup of coffee, and pay attention to your sleep quality on the days you consume coffee and the time of day you're consuming it. In other words, if you have it at 8 in the morning, you're sleeping fine at night, potentially. If you have it at 3 in the afternoon, you're not getting as much sleep, potentially. So monitor these things for yourself and be mindful of any headaches or withdrawal symptoms on the days you don't drink coffee. That gives you a clear indication of, am I addicted?
Well, I would say we're both addicted because you quit once when you had the twins and you had headaches. I've quit twice. One was a long time ago, but I remember I had headaches. So our bodies are saying we're addicted. That's our first marker. Again, evaluate whether you're dependent on coffee or not. Addicted is one thing, but does my daily routine need coffee? Am I dependent upon that to be able to get up and have my energy and go to the gym and keep my heart rate going fast enough, or is it going too fast? But I think if we're going to evaluate whether we're dependent on it or not, we have to think about the reasons why we're drinking coffee.
Right.
And I love the taste, right? That's one reason.
And the smell.
It's a really important habit of mine. It's kind of like brushing my teeth. I don't leave the house without brushing my teeth. I don't get up in the morning without first thing having coffee. And the third thing is it's an energy boost for me.
Right.
So I would say I'm addicted and I'm dependent upon coffee.
It's probably true.
So we could try skipping for a few days.
See what happens.
Okay, so we're moving towards less coffee?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
The third thing is, understand your health status. Take into account your existing health conditions, especially any related to your heart health, your anxiety, or your digestion. Those are the 3 big areas in the risk bucket that we had the most red flags around when we were looking into this in the research. Consider any medications you're taking and the potential interactions with caffeine, and reflect on your current stress and anxiety levels. Is caffeine influencing that one way or another? And be honest with yourself about it.
So next month, we're having our annual physical with our GP and our naturopath doctor. So at the top of the list is going to be coffee.
Really? That's the top of your list?
Yeah,
Okay.
it will be. I want to find out what they think about coffee. I've never really asked because I like it, and it's important to me.
Right.
But the fourth thing is if you're going to get pregnant or other special conditions, like, I don't know what else is like getting pregnant, but if you're going to get pregnant, you really got to find out whether or not coffee should continue, reduce, or go away altogether, right?
Well, and it's also important for women and men in your menopausal cycle, right? You know,
I haven't been in that yet.
Because there is, a correlation to determine, how caffeine is affecting your menopausal symptoms. And both men and women go through that.
Okay.
Okay, he says. And
Well,
then,
have I gone through menopause yet? Menopause? What do they call it?
Well, you're
Go ahead. These are our friends.
you're 67, so I would think so.
Oh, so you didn't even notice it then, right?
The last thing I would say is reflect on your lifestyle and your wellness goals. Align your coffee consumption with your overall wellness goals, such as improve sleep, or I'm going to reduce my anxiety, or, I'm going to find other ways to motivate myself in the morning other than this artificial caffeine burst. Consider maybe even decaffeinated options or coffee alternatives that could satisfy the ritual, the warm cup, the late afternoon, the cold rainy day, desire. But really thinking about the role coffee plays in your social and work routines and try to find potentially a healthier alternative.
Okay, so before I make a commitment, I want to remind you and myself and our viewers that my favorite coffee in the world is Illy. Illy. It is the best coffee.
You do love your Illy.
So maybe here's what I'm thinking of doing. No, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to limit my coffee intake to 1 cup a day. But it's not going to be at 4 in the morning.
Okay.
It's going to be when you come back from the gym, we're going to sit, relax, and have a cup of coffee together. Does that work for you?
Well,
and you'll skip coffee before you go to the gym?
Wait, this is your thing.
I was trying to pull you in on it.
I'm not sure how I got pulled into it.
Well, what are you going to do? You going to do your coffee before the gym?
I'm not sure that I have an issue. I need to do my self-assessment first.
All right, then for me, I'll make the coffee pot in the morning at 4 a.m. and you can have it when you get up. I'm skipping it. I'm having it when I get back.
There you go.
What about you? You're still assessing?
I am.
All right.
Because our challenge we have for you is to assess where you are on the consumption of coffee and is it working for you? Do you need to reassess? Do you need to make any changes? Try changing to fit what works best for your body and listen to your body.
I'm not going to quit coffee.
Oh,
I can't.
boy.
It's not when there's Illy out there. Hey, I hope you liked this video. And if you did this next one, the top 20 foods sabotaging your health. Avoid these foods at all costs. So not only are we asking you to quit coffee or think about it, but these 20 foods really, in all seriousness, could be causing you some harm. So watch this video next.